Each year, we tell you 2 stories of dogs that have been saved from death and adopted into loving families. This evening, we have chosen 2 extra special stories to share with you. They are a direct reflection of you and where your money goes from the funds raised tonight. And to tell you about our first story tonight, please welcome Sheila Wyatt.
Our first story today is regarding a dog named Destiny. I first met Destiny a few days after last year's Canine Justice Network gala. I had just turned down our street after picking up the kids and coming from work, and I saw a little pit bull just trotting down our street, kind of weaving back and forth across the street, just happily checking things out, sniffing around, that type of thing, just really happy. And I thought to myself, I got to keep an eye on that little one. I pulled into our driveway, and I had the kiddos go into the house. But I continued to linger outside Leach's garden, just to make sure the dog either got to her destination, or at least safely cleared our street, or did not tangle with any of the other animals on our street. And I have to admit, since she was a pit bull, I was a bit more concerned than I would have been with any other breed of dog. Within a few minutes, I heard a dog's high-pitched yelp, and with my pit prejudice, I immediately thought she had tangled with the Chihuahua down the street, who was always outside. However, after I came down the driveway, I saw a minivan stopped in the street, and I suddenly realized another terrible scenario had happened. The dog had been hit on our street. I ran over to the scene and saw several neighbors standing around the dog, who was calm and sitting up, but there was blood on the ground, and she had a clearly injured leg. No one was doing anything yet. They were all kind of debating on what to do. I told everyone I would get Natasha and explain quickly about her foundation. I ran to Natasha's door, knocked on it, and luckily she was home. I explained to her that a pit bull had been hit on our street, to which Natasha memorably said to me, "Are you shitting me?" In the meantime, Jen, Natasha's neighbor and also a doctor, was coming out of her house towards the scene. Natasha came out and we all ran together to the dog, where Natasha immediately took over the situation, approached the dog very calmly, and looked over her injuries and the wounds. They did look pretty bad. After a discussion about getting the dog up and how we needed to get her to Natasha's car, we went home and, Jen went home and got her kids' red wagon and brought back towels as well. So we bundled up the dog and lifted her gently up into the wagon, and then very carefully we wheeled the dog back to Natasha's car. Natasha kept telling all of us, "Don't feel sorry for her." And I was not sure if she was referring to the dog, because we might lose her, or if we might frighten the dog, or maybe she was even meaning the van driver. I didn't know, so I just took her cues, and I remained calm and emotionless. The next day, I did ask Natasha what she had meant by "don't feel sorry for her," and she told me that she was referring to the dog. She said that when a dog is in a trauma situation, if you get nervous and upset, then that same energy will pass to the dog. So by being calm, it will help the dog remain calm and still. We got to Natasha's car, and Natasha needed to go inside to get her keys while Jen went to advise her partner that she needed to head to the vet with Natasha. Natasha made sure that I was okay staying with the dog, which I was. This little pit was so calm and so sweet. She showed no signs of distress whatsoever and no signs of distrust. She was just going with the flow. She stayed put in the wagon, and in a second, both Jen and Natasha had arrived back at the scene. They lifted up the dog, still bundled up, and they put it onto Jen's lap in the car and took off to the local vet, which is Grady Veterinarian Hospital. And here is Jen McClellan to tell the rest of Destiny's journey that day.
Well, we got Natasha got to the car, and I just sat in the backseat with Destiny. She was a very sweet little dog. She didn't seem to have stepped it. You could tell she had pretty significant trauma in one of her back legs. So I just tried to help, just put pressure on it, not hurt her any worse. And rushed her pretty quickly to the vet. And we were a little concerned how much she was losing. And when we got there, it was kind of, Natasha's eyes were very involved in a lot of different balls. And the vet there kind of knew Natasha who she was. So they got the dog back, and Natasha and I were sitting in one of those little rooms, kind of looking at each other, going, "Okay, now what are we going to do?" So it was kind of interesting because we both knew the dog was going to need medical attention. Natasha was kind of sitting there like, well, who can I call now? I had just promised my partner, well actually I had mandated my partner about a month prior that we were going to take nothing else in our house than we watered or fed, because we had weaned up from 5 animals to 2, like 2 toddlers on our own. So I looked at Natasha and I said, well, I really like to help. So she made a few phone calls, actually about 13, just trying to find somebody to help us take the dog when she needed care. We knew staying at the vet overnight was probably not going to be financially a great option. She finally got a hold of someone, and they said, sure, I'll come down, I'll come down and get her, but I'm leaving on vacation in a week. So then Natasha looked at me and said, take her for just a little while. So I said, well, I'll see what I can do at home. But the doctor came back in, she had 1 broken toe and lots of ligament damage, and pretty much had taken most of the skin off of her leg. So I had a dog with a previous problem. I knew this was going to be bandage changes every 2 or 3 days, which meant vet visits every 2 or 3 days. And the bill was going to be $6 or $7. So I looked at Natasha and said, that CJN thing, you guys got a lot of money. She's like, well, we got a little bit. So we kind of worked things out. Destiny, the foster mom came down with Destiny. She was a great little dog. And then about a week later, it was our turn. I've had a pit bull before, and they can be very lovely animals. The dog did great with our dog. She was very sweet with the toddlers. She let our 2 kids pretty much pick her up as much as she could stand. And then Natasha finally did find her. She got a foster. She would take her back. I'm just going to finish up her story, which is so much.
This is Destiny's first foster home here. Marsha Mullins normally comes, and I think a lot of you probably know who she is. Unfortunately, she had a personal tragedy happen and wasn't able to be here tonight. But yeah, this is Destiny immediately after the vet and the little Chihuahua buddies. What an evil pit bull, right? So evil. Yeah, Jen cracks me up. She fails to mention, I know you guys are eating, so I apologize for saying this, but such a trooper, this one. If it wasn't for her, I mean, I'd have lost it. She was covered in so much blood. We brought towels. They were soaked. There was a lot of blood from this. I had no idea. How many years did we live next door to each other? I had no idea she was a doctor, and so here I am driving, going, she's lost a lot of blood. I don't know if this is gonna. Yeah. No idea she's a doctor. I'm totally stupid about that. So, yeah. But yeah, it was a lot of money when the vet came out and said it was going to be about $600. My eyes just. What you don't know is this accident happened 3 days after our fundraiser last year. So if it wasn't for you guys, this dog would not be alive. She wouldn't be there. Completely healed. Here's what happened. One of her toes were broken. She had to have those really, really painful bandage changes for months. She went through many foster homes, and it wasn't anything about her behavior, just people were saying, oh, we'll take her, but we can only take her for short amounts of time. So we eventually found her a foster home who said, we don't have a time frame. We'll take her in, for as long as you need. And that's the foster home that she's in here. When her toe broke on her foot, it fused in a weird way. It actually fused in a good way. It fused to the point where she actually became a little bionic dog. She's able to put more weight on her back leg, and she's actually able to do more with the way it broke and the way it fused than she was before. So oddly enough, she's actually better now than she was before the accident. That's her with her new family, who Becky unfortunately could not be here tonight. She's working at Children's Hospital. She's got a lot of other doggy friends. She's got a young boy and a teenage daughter. And they just absolutely love her to death. We officially adopted her to this foster home that's had her for about 6 months, like a week ago. So, super awesome. It's just, the thing that boggles my mind is I was on vacation. I take my vacations after the fundraiser because this is a lot of work. And that was the only reason I happened to be home. when Sheila came pounding on the door. And quite honestly, again, it goes back to it. I named her Destiny because I told her, and this is not trying to be distasteful in any way. I named her Destiny because I told her, the dog, while we were at the vet, if you're gonna get hit by a car, do it on a dog rescuer street. You just had a fundraiser whose other neighbor happens to be a doctor. There you go. So that's Miss Destiny.